Good morning, guys, and welcome to today's training. I'm Marshall Burtcher, and I help codependents rediscover their well being, their happiness after codependency, after love addiction, after trauma. So, good morning. Nice to see you guys. Today, we're going to depart a bit from our current series, which is about compassion accountability. What was my role in the toxic relationship that I dealt with, that I've had in my life. We're going to resume that next week. If you're watching this live, that'll be next week. If you're watching this recorded, you'll probably see that in the next video. So yeah, I need to share this out to the community. Let's pop out here to Facebook and do that. The community is your safe haven here on Facebook, on the internet, to where you can find support, guidance, tools, and a shelter where people understand your experience, they understand what you're going through, and that we have your back in your journey back to you, because that's the solution to codependency, is coming back to know yourself and value yourself. And first, right, is to put yourself in what's called the primary position in your life and allow yourself to feel and enjoy the beauty and brilliance that you be in your world. So let's get this shared out to the community here real quick. Okay, things we are shared. All right. Lovely to see you all. Today we're going to be talking about how do I stop obsessing about their pain and their trauma? How do I stop fixating on them? So in codependency, we are configured to reference them. I call this external orientation. What this basically means is they are the primary focus. They're the priority in your world. And there's a couple of deep reasons for this. Reason number one is attachment. Okay? So codependency results from what's called incomplete self. So when a child is developing, they are using their parents as a reference to themselves, a reference to the world, a reference to how to deal with life, how to deal with emotions, how to understand others, understand themselves, things like that. And attachment is a bonding approach, a biological and psychological bonding experience for the child, where they find safe haven, they find guidance, they find shelter, they find support. That's the goal and one of the purposes of attachment. Well, if you grew up neglected, if you grew up abused, that attachment has been ruptured. It has been injured, it's been traumatized. So your body became associated with chaotic, unstable attachment to people whom you feel love for. And this is confused with a dependence on them as well. In other words, we sometimes feel like we can't survive without them. That is a primal attachment signal. It's like it's what tells you you'll have a very strong attachment to this individual, which means that your sense of self, your sense of power, your sense of capability in the world is very low. It's anchored in them. They're the guide. They're the authority. They're the ones that determine your worth. They're the ones who determine your lovability, your value, your capability, your strength, your power. They're the ones who gave you permission to be yourself. They're the ones who helped you define you, right? So if we're looking at it through this lens of I need you so I can know me, so that I can survive, it's no wonder that we're obsessed with the other person, with the abuser. That's because this attachment system is trying to mature itself through the relationship with them by first bringing peace to the attachment trauma, which is typically I feel abandoned, I was abandoned, right? I feel neglected, I feel rejected as a person, as who I am is not valuable and lovable. And you're trying to find someone that will prove to you that you're truly lovable and keepable. And basically that you're worth knowing, loving, and keeping. And the second component with this fixation and codependency is to keep us alive. Because if we can control the threat, then we can survive. Because remember, The brain is stuck in a freeze-fawn loop. So if you followed me for a while, I talk about this extensively. Check out the SAD, S-A-D, the Seduction, Abuse, Discard Cycle trainings on my YouTube channel to learn more about how the brain gets triggered into a freeze-fawn loop. So freeze-fawn loop, the brain has 4 options in response to a threat. It can kill it, it can run from it, it can freeze and play dead, or it can fawn and try to please it, so it'll keep it and leave it alone. Codependency is a combination of the freeze and fawn components in the brain interacting in a way that fixates us on the threat and tries to get them to love us so that they won't hurt us or kill us anymore. Now, especially if the threat is someone that we're emotionally bonded to, that we have love for, that we're dependent on, we get into a trauma bond or a betrayal bond with them, and things become very, very confusing and very difficult to extricate ourselves from, because we have a dependency on them, yet we are scared to death of them, right? This is why we obsess about them. This is why our brains are fixated on what they feel, what they're doing, what they're not doing, what they're going to do next. Have they moved on? Who else are they loving? What's going on with me? Do they love me? Did they ever love me? Things like this are the product of this unmet need within us to feel and experience being loved and valued and kept in a loving, respectful way. It is the result of not having a complete sense of self, and it is the result of having gone through a threatening situation over and over and over with someone whom we're bonded to or dependent on. This also maps out how we get out of this. Moving from obsession with them comes to being valuing of ourselves, meaning we become the priority, not their pain, not how they see the world, not what they're going through, not their trauma, what we're going through. See, when we start to value ourselves, when we start to make ourselves the priority in our world, like my feelings matter, why you did something, Sally Joe, is secondary to what I feel. Period. And this comes from a practice of meeting ourselves, of valuing ourselves, treating ourselves with respect, treating ourselves with a kindness towards our emotions. This is about unlearning the shame and the judgment and the rejection that we've learned to treat ourselves with. This is a journey. This is something that is a practice, not an event. Is something we have to nurture over time. And one of the first things we encounter in this is shame. We got to wrestle with that shame because we believe the shame is the truth. We believe that it is the definition of our value. We often believe that it is empirical, like it can't change. And so we collapse into it. And we just clunk. We're stuck in it. Hi, Nicole. Yes. Wow. I hear you. This is the issue going on here, is with shame, we trust that it's true. We believe it. We don't really have any other reason not to believe it. I mean, the people whom we've been dependent on, the people we've bonded to that we treat as an authority over our value to define ourselves for us, have said that we're shameful. They've told us that. So why would I question that? I mean, that's where I was at 15 years ago. Like, why would I question that? I mean, their behavior tells me I'm worthless. Nobody wants somebody like me. I mean, my brain literally couldn't comprehend it. Like, why would you want me? I'm garbage. I couldn't see myself because I was never taught to see myself. I was given grandiose praise and then toxic what did they call it? Just toxic discipline. Toxic parenting, basically. It's like, hey, you screwed up, so you're a piece of shit. Do that again. I'm going to withdraw my love. I'm going to withdraw my approval from you. My friends, this is the wrestle. This is our first big wrestle. Is to start to question the shame. It's like, is it true that I'm shameful? Is it true that I'm not worth it? What else is possible? Who would I be if this shame wasn't true? This is where we start getting in contact with ourselves again. Because we're coming back to us. We're starting to find out what we really feel. Because shame is a programmed response. It's something we're told to feel in response to something. We're not told it deliberately, we're modeled it in behaviors, in what's called feedback or reflection. So we start to question this. It starts to get us back in contact with us, and you're going to find there can be some relief, but there's also going to be other feelings like anger, confusion, heartbreak, sadness. These are the feelings that we felt in the betrayal that we've lived through, in the abuse. This is what we felt when they ignored us. This is what we felt when they denied our viability, our worthiness. This is what we felt when they shamed us. See, the shame came after all of that. It's when we agreed that, oh, I'm shameful. I'm going to incorporate that into my identity. Getting out of that is, I question the shame. Is that even valid? What else is there? What else do I feel about this event? Or how I've been treated over time? This allows us to get in contact with us. See, when you make your pain primary, you make it the first priority, it doesn't matter what they're feeling at that point. It matters what you're feeling, because what you feel is valuable and matters first. But these are choices you have to make. Okay? This is one thing that got me really tangled up for a long time, is that I had to make a choice. Nobody told me this. I was never taught this in therapy. I was not taught in my mentoring and coaching. It dawned on me that I have to make a choice to value myself. I have to make a commitment to me to value and appreciate my emotions, despite any shame, despite any guilt, or despite what anybody else has said to me in the past, or what I think they might say to me in the future, or what I think they're thinking or feeling now. I need to value me. I have to make that choice. I have to make that commitment to me. Once I made that commitment and I started acting on the commitment by going, these feelings matter. My pain matters to me first. Then I started to see and understand that I didn't have to care about the way they felt first. Yes, I'll care about how you feel once you own your shit, especially if you've been abusive to me. Once you've owned your shit and you demonstrate clear empathy and self-awareness about your behavior and its impact on me, and that you demonstrate a change in behavior, we're good to go. That's how I approach that with abusive people. It's not very often that actually happens, but that's how I take it. This matters all the time. You choose yourself first, which means you value your emotions first. That is key to undoing the obsession, because your obsession is to try to keep you safe with a person that's intrinsically unsafe. See the paradox there? You can't be safe with a toxic person. They are by nature unsafe because of their patterns of behavior and the way they think. So your job is to get out of that. And one of the ways we start getting out of that is acknowledging what is real. So we're going to break our fantasy and connect with reality. Second one is start making our feelings the first priority. It's like, my pain matters, dude. My pain is intrinsically valuable. And if Sally Joe or person X doesn't value my feelings, then I'm with the wrong person. It's time to go where I'm valued. It's kind of like that old, this will date me. There's a series back in the 80s called Cheers, everybody knows your name. You need to go to a place where you're valued, where you're seen, or what you feel is valuable to them and is validated, legitimized, where it's treated with respect. When we didn't grow up with respect, this is all very foreign to us. And this is one of those growth wrestles we have, where we're going to learn what it is to do it and to feel it. One day it will click and you'll be like, wow, I really respect how I feel. I value my feelings. I value my well-being. I value my health more than I value their approval, their love, or the euphoria I feel with them. And this is about making you the first priority. This is how we permanently resolve obsession about what they think or what their feelings are, what their pain is. The second thing you can do in this is start respecting people's autonomy. This is kind of a confrontational thing, right? Because codependency tends to violate their space. We get in their yard and try to fix things for them and take control of their feelings and do things for them. That's the caretaking and sometimes enabling or controlling element of codependency. Our job is to get out of that. Our job is to go, wow, look at you. You made a choice. What do you think about that? It's to disconnect any sense of responsibility we have over their pain, because we have no intrinsic responsibility over anyone's pain. The only pain we have responsibility to is our own. They are responsible for managing their pain. That's part of their growth. That's how they come to know what matters to them. It's what helps them mature out of any kind of unmaturity or undeveloped aspects of self. Because consequence is the teacher, especially for people who are abusive. They need the consequence. It's essential. They need accountability and consequence, not compassion and empathy. We can empathize with their pain without taking away the consequence. And you say, yeah, I know that really sucks. What are you going to do about it? What have you learned from it? And see what they do. This is the healthy approach to helping. So, learning to shift from being focused on them to us means we need to heal our relationship with ourselves and put ourselves in first priority. We need to heal the attachment trauma we've been going through, releasing the shame, and reconnecting to a sense of value. Now, from my point of view, and the way I approach this, I believe that everyone has what's called innate value or intrinsic worth. We need to find it and activate it. We find it, activate it, and come back to that space. This process becomes a lot simpler and a lot easier. So there's a value activator on my YouTube, or a value retrieval on my YouTube channel, as well as I teach it in what's currently called the Happiness Strategy, which will also be called the Discovering You program 2021, because I got to rename things because you learn, right? You're welcome to join that. The links are below on Facebook, below on YouTube, above on Facebook. Yay for Thursday. But this is the challenge here, guys. We have to come back into contact and back into choosing to value us first. The healthy relating order is always me and you. You can also put it as me, then you. Okay? This allows us to access ourselves first so we know what's real for us, so that we can say yes and no to what's going on with them. So we can also identify what's ours and what isn't, what our boundaries are, what our territory is, and we can make healthy, appropriate choices in responding to other people and their pain. So when your obsession kicks into gear, you need to regulate your nervous system because you're becoming dysregulated. You need to retrieve your value from them. And you need to start acknowledging, legitimizing, and integrating your own pain. These are big tools. They are big processes. I teach them in the Heal Yourself membership courses and in the Know Yourself membership courses. The specific courses are From Addiction to Connection and the Happiness Strategy. The tools, I'll post some tools in the comments as well that you can start with that. Guys, this is how we permanently leave the world of obsession. Because we got to go deeper than just changing our habit. We need to meet our needs. Because you want to get really deep on what codependency comes from, unmet needs. Unmet needs. Need for love, need for acceptance, need for protection, need for shelter, need for play, need for affection, need for companionship. We meet those needs in healthy ways. We don't need to be codependent anymore. Because we're not dealing with toxic people, we're dealing with healthy people. So this is how I approach it. And it's worked really, really well. Over the 12 years for me, and 1,200 people, some number of people I've worked with years. This is how we start to really get deep on it, because this is how we start to know ourselves. When we know ourselves, that incomplete self starts to mature into a complete self. We don't need them so much. Instead, we start to look at building consensual bonds and connections with healthy people. We start to rebuild our world centered around healthiness rather than survival. So let's see. Nicole says, I've been frustrated that I still obsess about past narcissistic people. It's easier to be compassionate with myself, understanding that those people are... Yeah, it's how you got seen. It's how you got value. It's how you got some of those needs met. And because they were a resource for that, and you're dealing with a lack of resource elsewhere, your brain's going to go where it knows it can get some food, basically. So, yeah, that's how we handle it. Hi, Gail. Yep, thank you. Most who are desperately trying to heal another are avoiding something in themselves. Yeah, a lot. Especially if they're constantly trying to fix people. See this a lot in coaches. If we're going to lead people, we got to be a ways down the road first. And we got to have a real strong understanding of our own pain, our own self first. And, and I think for me, effective healers and effective coaches are always working with themselves. They're always on a growth path. Like for me, this morning, I was wrestling with a strong sense of insecurity and being erased or being invisible, which is a wound I've been working on for some time because it's a big one. It was a big fulcrum of my world. So I identified with it for a very, very long time. And so, like even this morning, I took about 35 minutes to just sit in the energy of that and reconnect with the little boy who was forgotten in school, who felt invisible at home. He just didn't feel like he existed. And he started to feel like he existed. He's like, wow, I've got attention. I'm valued. And I value him. He's a smart, cantankerous little boy. And I love him. This is how we nurture ourselves. It's gentle. It's kind. And it's a practice, guys. Remember that. None of this is instant. None of it can be. I mean, we have to evolve into it. So it's a gentle practice of just discovering who we are and taking care of the pain and the needs that show up as we move along the way. Okay, there we go, guys. I appreciate you. Remember that you're worth knowing, loving, and keeping. Be safe out there, my friends. Keep yourself. Praise and appreciate yourself. And I will see you in our next video. Have a great day. Bye-bye.